same ones that were used in the beginning of the UFO phenomena, so to speak, or those who come forward, and all those adjectives will be used again: crazy, idiot, on drugs, peyotes finally got to them, running through the forest with the tin hat, type of thing. But I'm saying that the jury is out as to why, and there does seem to be a cohesive thread of testimony, people like yourself, of the lieutenant, and dozens of other people we've had on the show, and of course, all through the net, there are very valid testimony as well.
Well, it's interesting because when I've gone to, and I never used to be really interested in this field or anything until I don't go to widespread conferences and all that, but the few that I've been to, people were talking about UFO sightings and abductions. They weren't talking about necessarily like a lot of contact or the agenda, and I like that the lieutenant colonel brought that up and there's some speakers who think that, their agenda is very, kindly and they want to help us, and probably some do, but there's lots of species, and, I've learned from my husband's stuff that there's lots more species than just reptilians, and they're very different, and they come from very different environments. But a lot of them out there, they come here to study us, for research, but like you said, they want to eat you. So, I put it out there, and as unkind as this sounds, there are species who come here to gather up thousands, like he said, hundreds of thousands of people every year, and to take them back out to other species where they're used for breeding and sex slaves and meat.
Have you
not a good picture?
No, it's not. And I would say until somebody can prove that they're not here to eat us, why I say bring forth that proof, and we'll have them on the program. But just to say that people are crazy that suggest that really isn't proof, and it's really not a conversation. So I'm hoping for more than that.
You look at the picture of the reptilian that I just sent you, and that's clearly a meat eater, and their culture, whether it's for mating or, military or, it's like they're a very aggressive culture, whether it's, no matter what they're doing. So even among their own, they're aggressive with each other.
I have a question now. In this mating phenomena, we touched on that briefly with Barbara Brown 2 weeks ago. I don't know if you caught that one. She was talking about some sort of some strange appendage of some sort. But I want to ask, is the mating always between I'm not an alien expert, but is it like a male alien? Is it a male alien and a woman? Is there ever a woman alien and a man? Human man?
Are there female aliens?
Yeah, are they doing the sort of the mating with
the reptilians especially? They have male and female. Yeah. And that was, well, at least in the mission report I have, that was ruled. It was like a matriarchal society. Anyway. Have
you seen that picture that's running through the internet of a being on Mars sitting on a rock?
I did see that.
What do you think about that? Is that a Photoshop?
I have no clue whether it is, but I, definitely believe there's stuff going on Mars.
So,
not that anybody can confirm that to me. It's just that everything I've learned over the last few years, I have no, it wouldn't surprise me at all if there's stuff going on Mars.
Now, what intrigued me with our last conversation, you were saying something of the effect of taking rocket ships or spaceships out there to fight them. You still hold to that?
Oh yeah. In fact, it's wonderful. There's somebody at the conference I was at handed me a DVD of a BBC documentary about the Orion spacecraft program that Freeman Dyson and Theodore Taylor, who happens to be like an uncle of my husband, were involved with designing the Orion spacecraft, and they go so far as to, showing how they were designed and the prototypes were built and they were testing them. And then all of a sudden, the Apollo program comes up and they canceled the Orion program. And interestingly enough, President Bush's new spacecraft program, one of them is called an Orion. So, yes, I do maintain that Rand Corporation, on the one hand, designed and, like in the 40s, right after the war, designed a rocket, and you can go to their website and order it. I have a copy of this whole design of this rocket, and the drawing I sent you of Mark's rocket. That was a Rand-designed rocket. And then Dyson and Taylor designed, there was part of this whole program to design these Orion-class battle or spacecraft, and some of them were as big as battleships. Mm-hmm. And they would launch and go into space with nuclear bombs, and then they would stay out there. There was a whole fleet of them. There were like 9 battleship size, and then there were smaller, like support ships. I think we built 1 or 2. We built at least 1. I think we had 2. The other 7 were built by, funded by other countries or major corporations, and they were involved with, several battles that I know of, and I'm not sure. Some of them have probably been destroyed. I have no idea.
Well,
if they're still in existence.
We were talking. You just mentioned weapons in space, and that reminded me of the movie Armageddon with Bruce Willis when they had these drill machines. They blasted them off into space and went to the asteroid that hit in its way. But they had looked like 50 caliber machine guns mounted on those drillers. And I'm wondering, was Hollywood trying to tell us if you're going out that far, you better have weapons?
I'm sure.
I don't know. I didn't see that in the plans, and I never understood that in the movie as to why they outfitted those. And one guy starts shooting them at everybody, and they've got nukes and everything else. I'm just wondering, were they trying to say that if you go out in space, you just may need some weapons?
Yeah, and I like what the lieutenant colonel said about Hollywood, basically, throwing out TV shows and movies to brace you and get you used to the idea that there's weird things happening or weird things happening. There's new movies right now talking about weird creatures and monsters invading cities and things like that. Mm-hmm. And there was, right after Katrina, there was a new TV show that came out about this town inundated by a hurricane, and, there were actually an alien invasion type thing going on. But yeah, in one of our reports, and I can't remember what we talked about last time I called, but the mission in August of '79, when they were going to the asteroid Vesta for a peace conference, and it talks about the Nordic bases out there, and they were ambushed by another species, and the heavy-duty weapons that those, I don't want to call them people, those groups had on their bases. Yeah. And it goes into, what our Orion spaceships were outfitted with. Mm-hmm.
All right. Now we have this question coming in on the Fast Blast for you. Joanne, do you think the U.S. president is elected or selected?
I think that I'm kind of dancing around that. I think basically whoever is elected, they're probably selected, but whoever gets elected, it doesn't matter which side they're on. I think they're all backed by very corrupt people with a very similar agenda. Mm-hmm. The New World Order has definitely infiltrated our government, and the New World Order is basically in bed with different alien species. Mm-hmm.
So do you think that our governments are agreeing to let some of our dear Earth citizens to be put on a sandwich in order for exchange of technology and such?
In a heartbeat. Huh. And one of my other reports that I'm trying to get typed up and out to the public, and most of the stuff I have, except for I have some new stuff about Iran, Iraq, but most of the missions I have reports happened in the later 70s. But it was talking about the deals the Chinese had made and things like that. And so while the public was thinking we were in this huge Cold War, fighting against each other or, working against each other, there were occasions where, select group